I am in constant pain. Dinosaur fans watching might recognize this fellow, the Ankylosaurus. Ankylo meaning fused together or bent, referring to this dino's incredible skeleton whose entire top half is made up of a striking array of fused together armored discs. I have a disease called ankylosing spondylitis, where the ankylo means exactly the same thing, fused together or bent, and spondylitis means spine. So, much like our friend the Ankylosaurus, I too have bones along my back which are fused together and bent. But much unlike the Ankylosaurus, I am not an 8-ton living war machine from the late Cretaceous who has to fend off Tyrannosaurus rex on the daily. I also don't have that badass looking mace on the end of my tail that some ankylosaurs have, which wouldn't be particularly useful either, but it would at least be a cool accessory to whip out at parties or whatever. The effect of this disease and the fused together bones in my spine that it so kindly brings means that every moment I'm standing, every moment I'm sitting, every moment I'm laying down, and especially every moment that I'm standing on my head, my spine aches. I am in constant pain. In some ways though, I do think of myself as fortunate because I can still do most things. They just hurt. I can walk relatively unencumbered. I can lift weights minus any bent over kind of exercises. I can even go full force on the exercise bike. But I can't run. Well, physically I can run pretty much as athletically as I ever could. But the rapid and repetitive staccato of jerking your whole body over and over and over again means that when I do run, it's followed by days, if not weeks, of increased intensity pain in my back as a result. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not too fond of the base level of constant pain that I'm in, let alone the "this is Spinal Tap" version, no pun intended. So, for all intents and purposes, I can't run. No one told me life was going to be this way. In fact, for around 17 or 18 years, it wasn't. I was young and upwardly mobile, until one day playing basketball, I started feeling a weird sharp pain down the length of my thigh that caused me to need to sit out. Over the following months, this pain would grow and evolve. First from a sharp and sudden thigh pain, then into a sharp and sudden pain down the entire leg, slowly morphing into an on-again, off-again leg, butt, and back pain down one side, and even at one point swapped sides, and for a short time alternated between them. The intensity also varied greatly. Days or weeks could go by where I wouldn't even be aware of it. And then suddenly, one day it would attack me anytime I put my foot on the floor, or twisted in the wrong way, or sat upright in my chair too fast. Any and every of these motions could cause an instant and extreme pain along the majority of one side of my body. And if that sounds bad, that wasn't even its final form. One night, during a particularly persistent bout, I woke up to go to the toilet, and I couldn't move. Or rather, I could move, and that was the problem, because any movement I made, no matter how small, sent instant, white-hot pain through my entire leg and lower back. Just thinking about it would be enough to cause the most violent, intense pain I've ever felt. And I'm completely serious there, by the way. I mean the not even perceptible micro movements that our body makes when we think about doing a motion was enough to set this pain off. So here I am, 17 or 18 years old, crying for my mum in the middle of the night. Because I'm completely disabled. Not only have I woken up and spontaneously one of my legs doesn't work, but that leg is actively attacking my body anytime I've got the audacity to attempt a movement vaguely in its direction. Once I was graciously helped to my foot, actually attempting to walk is the most bizarre sensation I've ever experienced. My leg is completely numb, whilst simultaneously in pain so excruciating I had previously not considered it possible. You know when you've been sitting on your foot and your leg goes dead? Then when you try and put your foot on the floor, it's just this weird, uniquely funky sensation, where it's like every part of your body is getting the signal that your foot is on the floor, except for the foot itself. So there's this kind of weird, disconcerting, deep discomfort. Well, this was just like that, except with every numb footstep, all the blood in the affected leg is instantaneously swapped out for molten mercury, and all the platelets in that blood are jagged little pieces of broken beer bottles. Needless to say, that wasn't the best nighttime wee time that I've ever had. Mercifully, a few sessions of physiotherapy ensured that this kind of leg pain would never reoccur. But what unfortunately remained in its place was on-again, off-again back pain that would last another 13 years without diagnosis. And that continued on again, off again, on again, off again, until one day it came on again and never went off again. A frustrating but manageable pain that would show up a few days out of the month, maybe a week at worst, literally overnight became a frustrating pain that would never end. Now, I could easily double the length of this video talking about the diagnosis process, or rather, the almost complete lack of one. But for now, all I will say is this. If you think something is wrong in your body, do not take no for an answer. Speak to every medical professional that you've got access to. Demand every reasonable test available. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to afford it, just pay for the private scan or checkup or whatever it is for your specific ailment. The absolute worst case scenario, you've just bought yourself some very real peace of mind. And you can't really put a price on that. So, finally, after over a decade of trying, it was only once I was in literal permanent pain did a doctor agree to send me for an X-ray, which in turn motivated an MRI scan, and ultimately my ankylosing spondylitis diagnosis. And knowing what I know about the disease now, identifying it more than 10 years earlier could have meant a much different quality of life for me today and the entire rest of my life. Because this is a chronic illness. I actually found out what the actual definition is of the word chronic in a medical sense when learning about my disease. It means an illness which is notably long-term, or in many instances is permanent. It will never go away. It has no cure. And for the problem that I have, there isn't even a realistic road for simply getting better. In fact, it will almost definitely only get worse. There is no way to reverse it. There's no way to stop it. It's only going to get worse. But it can at least be slowed down. Well, we can try and slow it down. So now, once a fortnight, which for all the Zoomers watching, that means every 2 weeks, I inject myself with immune system slowing medicine, because apparently my body is attacking itself. And the best way to treat that is to try and reprogram your body to not attack anything. That means that not only am I more likely to catch infections and viruses, and not only are infections and viruses more severe if I do catch them, but because my immune system is suppressed by this medicine, it means I also can't get vaccines. But don't worry, this isn't a story about vaccinations. It's a story about dinosaurs. It's a story to remind you that you never know what someone else might be going through. And also to remind you that if you're going through something, even if you might not know what it is yet, you are not alone. Trust me, I'm not okay. But it's okay to not be okay. And I want you to know that as well. This is also a story I decided to share for pretty much selfish reasons. Call it catharsis perhaps, or letting off steam, or maybe just having a moan. This has been my story for approaching half my life now, which feels crazy to say, and it's going to remain my story for probably the entire rest of my life as well. For one reason or another, now just felt like the right time to share it.